Spider-Man 3. So, there isn't a Spider-Man film that I don't like. But I definitely say that this is the one that I have the most hard feelings for. Shall we say. Because I think it's no secret that this film was kind of a mess. This was this 2007? Yep, 2007.
10 years ago. I have not seen this film in 10 years, but a lot of it still...
It's kind of burned into your brain. I watched this again today, just before recording this, so my memory is a little bit fresh. But most of the memorable scenes you can pick up on. So the story of this one is that now Spider-Man's kind of getting his life back on track, and things are kind of complicated when his relationship with Mary Jane is strained. His relationship with Harry takes on a new turn because now he's a goblin. And also on top of that, he has an alien suit which is turning him evil. I feel like this is the storyline that people really wanted them to tackle with the films, with the Black Suit saga. So this kind of started in a crossover event called Secret Wars, where Spider-Man ended up getting a black suit, but it was later revealed that the suit was alive and was kind of manipulating him. And it's kind of like a drug addiction type of thing.
Yeah, it is. I think it's quite an interesting story, that, because you see the alternative side of Peter Parker. That side I like of that saga. I think it's good to see the aggressive side of Peter. It's quite a dark side of the Marvel universe altogether. That I'm fine with, but I'll just mention briefly now, but we'll talk more about it later.
I felt like, for the most part, the transition was pretty well done of just like getting him like he's liking the suit more and more, and even when he's got it on, like something about his hand movements and body movements seems a lot more powerful and a lot more kind of creepy, and they use a different song for the suit as well, which really helps get down the idea that like something's kind of off about it. On top of that, like he has like little bouts of like little bursts of anger sprinkled throughout the film. It kind of culminates because he finds out that a new villain called the Sandman was actually responsible for his Uncle Ben's death, and that leads to just such a dark moment where he thinks he's killed Sandman and just like, good riddance.
Yeah,
it's like,
I've seen that.
Tobey Maguire, even with the mask on, is really selling the character on this. It's just really well done.
Well, it's funny you say that bit, because that is a bit, like, I remember, because I've seen this trilogy, me and my dad always went to see it together. We always would. And that scene when he goes, good riddance, I remember my dad saying, oh dear. Not in a sarcastic way, but in as in, you could tell that something was up. And yeah, going back to the symbiote, yeah, when he first worked out on, and he's like, next bit, he's on a building and going, well, where's this, even just that bit, that sequence, it just, I think something of this, if I can remember, the cinematography, the way the lighting and all that, it feels darker and it feels different, so you can tell this is a different side of Spider-Man emerging.
Yeah, go back to music again. Unfortunately, Danny Elfman, who worked on the previous, I can't believe we didn't mention the theme.
Yes,
Danny Elfman made the theme for this. It was so awesome.
It's really good.
They kept the theme in this, but I can't remember who did the music for this. It's on the screen right now. He did a pretty good job of like, it didn't feel overtly obvious that the composer had changed. He kind of felt like he had emulated Elfman's style pretty well. So it's handled pretty well. On top of that, you got Peter's best friend Harry Osborn, who is now the Green Goblin, manipulating him, and it all leads to a confrontation where he casually throws one of his bums back at him and leaves him for dead. So if you've seen my reviews, you know that I'm very tolerant of a lot of goofy things. I love Goofy. That's one of the reasons why I love the Spider-Man films. But I have my limits. I present you my limit. Yeah, it doesn't fit, does it?
Are you on about the bit where he bangs his head?
No, I'm talking about the bit where he starts pointing to people down the street and is dancing.
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were about Harry Osborn stuff.
No, that was kind of hilarious. Let's see that a few more times.
Yeah, let's talk about this bit, because
just like,
that is the bit for me where, when I was watching the film, I had a sense of, it's good, but it's not as good as others, but it'll pick up. But when it started getting to him strutting down the street and change clothes and doing that, that's where I felt myself like slowly sinking in my seat, going, I'm feeling very uncomfortable right now. People argue saying, look, this has changed Peter's personality. But Peter's a nerd, he's a geek, so this is what he would think is cool, him strutting down the street. That's the argument. But the thing is though, the symbiote suit is not John Travolta. That's the bit that they're getting about this, and when he does a whole thing of that, it's like, no. But it gets worse!
But like, just go back to this. This happens like right after the culmination of 3 films worth of storylines between Peter and Harry. He throws a bomb back. For all we know at this point, Harry is dead. Cut to... And it's just complete tone whiplash. And there's a moment like this in Spider-Man 2 where he gives up being Spider-Man and it's got like raindrops keep falling on my head. But that didn't feel at odds with the rest of the film, because the idea was that he was now kind of like a lot of weight was off his shoulders, so it fit. And there was also a sense of irony when he says nothing's worrying me, but clearly there is something worrying.
But also, it's a smooth transition. These they're 2 ends of the scale. Attempting to killing your best friend, the dancing in the street. They're not even close to each other. Mood wise.
And you're like, it all builds up. It's all building up, and then it's just like this moment, and it just takes you out of the film, and it just doesn't fit.
No.
And like Chris said, it gets worse.
Enjoy. Oh, I hate that scene. Actually,
alright, watching this film again today, I actually left the room for a bit. It's like I couldn't look at the screen for too long because I was physically immersed.
I had to, even at cinema, I couldn't watch it. From this day, I don't think I've seen the whole scene. I remember that bit. My dad, I have fond memories of seeing these films with my dad, but he turned to me and said, "What do you think of this film?" And from that moment, I thought, I said to myself, we got mutual thought this, because I'm not enjoying this either. And then we were both saying, this bit's silly. When he started playing the piano, when she came on to Mary Jane, because basically Mary Jane is about to sing a song at this jazz club, and you could sense her. He goes, "Oh no, Peter's going to do something," and he's playing the piano, and I could hear people in the audience go, saying,
"It's so goofy," and it
reminds me of Batman Forever in a way. I mean, the lighting and the way it's very camp.
Yeah, except that Batman Forever, that was kind of the entire film, and this, it shoved painfully into what should be a dark hero story. It's just at odds with everything else, and it just doesn't fit. These pieces don't fit. But they put it in there. Apparently it took 2 weeks to film. It shouldn't have been done.
It took 2 weeks. Yeah, that was a lot. I mean, it just does not fit. You're right. You're absolutely right. And also, just moving back. Moving on. In that scene, you'll notice Gwen Stacy. Peter goes on a date with Gwen Stacy. Now, I completely forgot Gwen Stacy was in that film until I remember that dance scene, because he kisses her at the end to get Mary Jane jealous. That's her only purpose in that movie.
Yeah, she's pretty much there to just kind of be there to make Mary Jane jealous during this part of the film. And it's kind of a catalyst towards their changing relationship. We'll get to that when we get to the character portions, but it doesn't fit. And again, it's followed by this. Peter slapping his girlfriend of many years, the one he was almost proposed to, and leading to his big dark scene on the clock tower. Again, tone whiplash.
Because it happens. There's a dance scene, then straight afterwards.
And then it's just. And I do appreciate something like that where it's a shock and it's a big moment, but at the same time, it's been goofy, but it was going up this way, so it doesn't fit.
Am I incorrect in thinking that straight after that scene, he goes to a church?
Yeah, the church scene is right after that. What if the big church scene had been after he nearly kills Harry?
Yeah. And
that's the moment where he's oh God, what have I become? And you wouldn't have had that stupid dance scene. You could have had...
It'd be a more of a smooth build-up. I mean, because I know when I saw the trailer...
Again, it would have been a harsh moment, and it would have been oh, this is why he's feeling this way now.
when I saw the trailer for that, the bit where you see him in the church, like ripping off thing, and I said to myself, I can't wait for that scene. But when it came to this church bit, I was like, okay, it's this scene. It's just because that dance scene just took me straight out of the movie, and there was no way for me to get back in. I was there thinking, I want this film to end now. It's a real shame, because I think we said this before, like, if they had an edit where they edit out dance scenes and rejig some scenes around, I think you could have had a better movie.
Yeah, it's like, I will defend the rest of the film, because I feel like the build-up before this was really well handled, and everything from, well, let's say the slap, from there on out, it follows like what it should have been, but there's like this big, ugly portion in the middle of the film. It's like a perfect banana, and you just have that bruise, and that's all you notice.
Yes.
Because the rest of this film is really good. Watching it again is even better than I remembered in some cases, but everyone just remembers the dance scene. And it's a shame, because it's like, people seem to think that Spider-Man 3 is nothing but like this 2-hour dance scene. There's a film wrapped around this dance scene, but nobody can appreciate it because it's there and it's staring you right in the face and you can't look away. God knows I tried. It's too goofy and in the wrong place.
It's in the wrong movie.
It's in the wrong medium altogether.
You know what it reminds me of slightly? 60s Adam West Batman. You're going to do the dancing of that. I know it's not the exact same style, it's not as campy as that, but I thought, back in the 60s, Batman dancing would be acceptable. What makes you think that Spider-Man dancing in, this day and age, when Batman can't dance, why do you think Spider-Man is acceptable for Spider-Man dance?
It's just a bad creative decision. Unfortunately, the film feels mired by a lot of bad decisions. Harry, this is like the culmination of Harry's whole big arc throughout 3 films. And like, it kind of feels like it gets sidetracked pretty early on, because he reveals early on to Peter that he's the Goblin, and he hits his head and loses his memory. Play that 3 more times, please.
Worst plot device ever.
That old chestnut.
I know. I hate amnesia as a plot device. I think it's a big cop-out.
It's just... It's so... It doesn't make sense, and it's just... It's not good.
Well, because of 2, Sam Raimi said, right, okay, we've made the choice. Harry's going to be Green Goblin, but Sony want me to bring in Venom. I want to do Sandman. All right, he's going to have amnesia. I think there was no... Because I've heard stories that he didn't want Venom. He wants to have Sandman, but Sony said, no, you need to do Venom. Yeah. And, yeah.
Apparently he did catch on to the idea, and like after... Because originally he thought it was just a brute, but then he got to know the character. He did start to like it. But he kept saying in interviews that he hated Venom just to like help fool the audience. That was like just to keep the fact that Venom was in the film a secret, until eventually he was revealed at a convention. I think it was kind of with unfinished special effects, but it was revealed to like the fans. And it was kept a secret for like quite a while. But it just like, it kind of feels like, what if Harry started to try and get closer back to Peter? The fact that he now knows he's Spider-Man, what if he uses that to like try and patch things up with him? On the surface, he's secretly trying to bring him down, but make it look like that and have more of like that devious side of Harry. And he can, because now both he and MJ know that Peter's Spider-Man, so now she has a confidant, she has a shoulder to cry on. And then that could work. He can work the film's advantage rather than like, oh, he knows he's Spider-Man. How are we going to get around this? But it blew its Goblin card too early. It should have had like a lead up to Harry actually in like the suit and the glider.
Yeah, I think it was him do because first 10 minutes you see Harry in the glider.
Yeah, it's like a couple of scenes in, and he's on the glider. Speaking of the glider, I hate the design of Harry. He looks like a character from a video game, like an extreme sport.
Yes.
On a surfboard. It's like the mechanics of the surfboard I like. I like the fact that like the way it holds the bombs. I like the way that like it flies to him when he's off it. But it doesn't fit. It doesn't look like it should be the Green Goblin. He doesn't look like the Green Goblin.
No,
he looks like it's not the right character. He should have had the helmet.
Yeah, he should have had something. I mean, I think it would look silly him having his dad's helmet on, but he should have had something, at least something that made him look like a goblin.
Yeah, just something that reminds us of it. It didn't have to be like, with the goofy teeth and the big yellow eyes. That was kind of because Norman was out of his fucking good. But something that made it look like the character from the comics. Something a bit closer. You could give him the glider, you could update it a bit, but still give him the whole glider shape. It could have been handled so much better, and it's such a great build up to it as well.
It was, like I said in like the last review, the end with Harry, that was like a perfect way to end that film for him. Speaking of glider, by the way, you said someone's not handled well. Harry discovering that it wasn't Spider-Man who killed him, it was his own father's doing. That is the laziest bit of script writing I've seen in a superhero film in a while. The fact that his butler, who we didn't see in the last two movies...
he was in the second one.
Was he in the second one, was he?
Yeah, he was like, I'm closing up for the night now, sir.
That's
at least
right,
your father was like obsessed with work.
Yeah,
so he was there. Apparently he was originally going to be a fragment of his imagination.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he was going to be like part of his delusion. It's like, it's going to be the good part. Another potential plot line was that Mary Jane, it was actually going to be Gwen Stacy who was captured, who was in the car. It's like giving her a bit more of a chance and giving MJ a break. She was going to she was going to be the one to convince him to save Peter. Again, that would have been handled so much better, but it was like changed very late in the game to have MJ as the damsel in distress again.
Yeah, it was
so
tiring.
Having the butler explain it.
It's exposition again, and like explaining things. And the way he says it, and it's like, what? Harry could have said, "Look, you're a 90-year-old butler. You're probably losing your mind by now. I'm not going to listen to you." But it's the fact that he goes, "Oh, okay," and that's it. It's just like
it would have just been like a much more powerful scene if it was like him coming to the realization that he does care for him.
Yeah. Let's move on to characters now.
I think we should stay in the villains.
Was it? What you were as one characters?
Two more villains.
Yeah, Thomas Hayden Church as Sandman.
Yes. Easily the best villain in this film.
Well, yeah. Period. Seriously, I mean, the bit I can remember most from this film, apart from the horrible dancing, the positive thing I can remember from this movie was the birth of Sandman. He rises up from there. That is gorgeous visual effects there, and it's just so different. But I also agree that that's a great scene, but I also like his motive. He's trying to do this for his daughter.
Yeah. Again, it's something else that was reinvented for the film, the fact that he had a daughter. Because I feel like one of the things about Spider-Man's villains is that they're memorable, the villains, but a lot of the time they're essentially just thugs with a gimmick. Sandman's no exception to that, but they gave him this whole backstory where now he has a daughter who he's a criminal to get money for her. It's not motivated by, I have superpowers now, I want to take over the world. And it's really well done. It's a departure from the comics, but it's one that works. And again, you have the whole thing where it turned out that he was the one who shot Uncle Ben, and even then it's revealed to be an accident, that he didn't mean for the gun to go off, and he lives with the guilt. So he's made it's just such a sympathetic character.
He is, yeah.
It's so well handled.
He was. It's a shame that, because if he was the main focus of the film, they got rid of if they got rid of Venom, or Green Goblin 2. I think they have to get rid of Venom because couldn't get rid of Green Goblin 2.
Yeah, that's kind of we've been building to that.
I think there'll be no. Yeah, I think so. If they had him in Green Goblin 2, I think it would have been more focused, even more the main focus. Because is it me, or is it one point where he disappears in the film?
After Spider-Man beats him, and we have this. Then he comes back a little bit later, but he just can't. He served the purpose of just kind of triggering Peter's more violent impulses.
Yeah, and he does that. He does that really well. Yeah. Should we talk about
the final one? Is Venom and Eddie Brock.
Can I just say something now? I don't like Venom. In the comic, as a character, the comics, and definitely not in this. I think he's a very overrated, boring character. I think Sony wants to use this villain because they thought he could be very good in merchandise.
I will defend the fact that Venom was used in this film, because the whole deal with Venom was that Spider-Man had like this living suit, and the suit, when it was split from him, attached to this other guy, Eddie Brock, who had like hard feelings towards Spider-Man. So we have this person who hates Spider-Man and this suit which was rejected by Spider-Man, now with this burning hatred towards him. And I feel like, honestly, the reason that like I feel like Venom is as great a villain is that a lot of the time he's an anti-hero and an ally of Spider-Man. Mm-hmm. That it isn't always a villain, which is why I personally feel like Doc Ock and Green Goblin are higher on the list, but it did make sense to have him as a villain, because the whole thing is that as the story goes on, his life gets destroyed and Peter starts taking things away from him. He takes destroys his career, and he destroys his he wanted to get together with Gwen Stacy, and he felt robbed of that as well. Mm-hmm. But not enough focus was put on it. No, it should have had a lot more build-up.
But I felt like, I don't think it was implied, but to me it felt like he was more of a bit of a comical character, as in, "Oh, Eddie," like a bit like, I didn't have so much sympathy for him, and I don't know, he just seemed like a bit like that, little pipsqueak who just can't get the girl, can never get it right, one of the things. I just didn't think he was strong of a character. If he showed more of his aggressive side earlier on, I mean, he was a bit of a dick, though.
Yeah, apparently he was toned down because the intention was to make it more of like a dark reflection of Peter. And, of course, Peter was like the dorky kind of dweeb, so that was one of the reasons why Venom was scaled down from, like, Eddie Brock was like much more of a bigger guy in most versions. I feel like a lot of this was inspired by the Ultimate comics, apparently. I never got up to Venom in the Ultimate series. But apparently stuff like him being obsessed with Gwen Stacy and stuff like that was taken from there.
Okay.
And then when Venom talks, it's with Eddie Brock's voice, and it doesn't sound right.
But that also, but the fact he says something like, "I hate Spider-Man just as much as you." I said, no, it's we hate Spider-Man just as much as you. I was very
they refer to themselves as we.
Yes.
Because it's two things.
And also, I don't like the fact that a lot of the time you don't see Venom's face because they feel it needs to put back so the actor can have more screen time.
Well, I feel like that was done because having the voice come out of that mouth just didn't fit. Though it would have been so hard to dub over that with like the gravelly Venom voice.
Yeah, because I mean, the video games, the anime TV series, every time I've seen Venom on a show, he has that voice,
Yeah, it's like it changes. Like Eddie's got his normal voice, and then he goes to Venom. He's like, "Me hate Spider-Man."
Yes.
Yeah. And just like do that, and don't have, what's his name's voice coming out of this.
Yeah, he was miscast. I mean, he even said in interviews that he kept saying to Sam, "Right, I don't think I'm right for this." And Sam kept saying, "No, you're fine." But I think the fact that he even knew himself, he was miscast for this. Yeah. I've seen other stuff. He's fine. He's a good actor.
I feel like he was. I don't feel like he was miscast in this because I understand the reason why he was done, and I feel like in a lot of ways it was get across well, especially like the scene where he's like, before Peter's like, "Remember how you humiliated me?" He got that across very well. It's just the fact that then the mask gets peeled off, and you have to see that face and hear his voice coming out of it. It should have been just like show the face, put the mask back on, and then have the Venom voice for the rest of it. Mm-hmm. And it would have been okay if it like built up across the film, but we had to devote time to this. And time to having Harry reconnecting with his friends and getting his memory back. It's like, it felt like a lot of time was put into places where it shouldn't have. Mm-hmm. So the focus didn't go to what could have potentially have been a fantastic character. I feel like that's the big problem with this film, is that like it's not wholly unsavable. It's not like Batman vs Superman where you look at the film and it's like, yeah, this seems like a first draft, you should probably do this again. It's like, this feels like a film where you could jumble parts around and make something good. There's great ideas, it's just not fully formed or realised. And I feel like that's what makes it a bit more, it is a bit more disappointing more than anything. Not that I think it's a bad film, it's just those disappointing things kind of stick out, especially this.
Anything else to say?
The supporting cast, once again, handled great.
DJ Jameson, yeah, I
DJ
liked him in
Jameson?
these. I liked him in these, but apart from one thing I thought was a bit too much was the you need to take your pills. Not that one.
I kind of feel like that was Betty kind of getting a run back at JJ for all the shit he's put up from.
Yeah, but all the rumbling, I thought, what was the rumbling for? Yeah, on the table, I thought, what? I don't mind a joke when it's fully explained, but no, I don't mind a joke when you want a joke when someone adds and you go, why is that in there? That's when I don't find it as funny. If they just went, not that one, but the other, not that one, I thought, why is it rumbling?
Yeah, why is his speaker that loud?
Well, I just love that bit. He goes, what was? I can't remember. I know it's funny because he shouts back and says, but what's he say? Because your wife's reminded you to take your pills for something. What was the pills for again?
It's for his anxiety and stress. And then that entire scene ends with him shouting at Joxer anyway. And of course he gets swindled out of money by a little girl on camera.
Yes, I like that scene very much.
And of course we had Bruce Campbell back in this, and this is probably the best of the Bruce Campbell cameos.
I prefer the second one. It's okay. It's this one. He's very John Cleese in this one.
Yeah, this one feels like he's got a bit more to work with in this one. I kind of feel like he's got a bit more screen time.
It's a funnier scene, but I just do love how he plays the second one. But yes, I hope because it's basically Peter trying to find a way to propose to MJ. But because the date's not going well, he keeps coming back saying, "Do I give it now?" It's just, and it's like a little touch on silent comedy. Like he's just there going, and you can tell by his face getting more and more frustrated every time.
I feel like probably my favorite line is like, out of nowhere he just goes, yes, I am French. It's like nobody brought that up. It's just like we didn't burn her. It's like nobody suggested that. Gwen Stacy. Kind of felt very underutilized. In the comics, she was Peter's first girlfriend after he broke up with Betty Brant, of course. Everyone seems to forget that. I can't remember if she was the first one after Betty anyway. But she felt very underutilized, and like you said, she was supposed to be in the finale. That would have worked a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, in fact,
it's like he's getting back at her as well.
It was very much like, it felt like her going, "Hi, I'm Gwen Stacy." Comic book reference, and that was the only purpose for it. I mean, the fact that you have two female interests. I mean, Amazing Spider-Man 2, they had Mary Jane there for one scene, but they cut her out, and I think rightfully so. Yeah, focus on one female love interest. But the fact there was two, and I mean, think about it. Yeah, you take out that dance scene.
Yeah.
Is there any other reason Gwen Stacy to be in that movie? Apart from we have Eddie Brock, but he was frustrated.
It's part of Eddie's transition more than anything.
Yeah. But you could
making MJ jealous. It just, I kind of feel like if she was used more, personally I feel like they should have used Liz Allen from the comics, who was a good friend of Peter, who he used to have a crush on, and then they just kind of sell their friends, and she ended up marrying Harry. So then you could have had that element. Maybe she was the one who brings Harry over, brings Harry over to the good side. Gives him something to be good, gives him something to live for again.
Anything else?
The supporting characters, action, once again, fantastic.
Yeah, action was great. It was
the fights against Sandman are all great.
That
one down in the sewers.
Yes, that was good.
It's so visceral and heavy.
That was a good fight scene, and the fight scene at the end even was a bit over the top for my liking. I like the bit where Peter used his brains to defeat Venom. Like he gets all those metal bars, and that was good.
That's what I was talking about back in when we were talking about the review of the first Spider-Man. It's like he's using his brain to defeat his enemies rather than just punching them until they kill themselves, which seems to be a recurring motif in Spider-Man films.
Yes,
that the enemies seem to do themselves in, but here he's using his intelligence a lot more. And personally, like I said before, I love over the top, so I have no problem watching a green guy on a flying surfboard fighting a giant sand monster. My limit is this, by the way. I'm going to keep reminding you that it exists because I can't unsee that shit. So, ultimately, that was the end of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man trilogy. They consider the fourth one. There was a lot of ideas floating around. I think the big one for a while was that Vulture was going to be in it. I think John Malkovich might have been assigned to cast.
Yeah, that would have been awesome.
They also talked about Carnage, which that was apparently a studio mandate thing that Sam Raimi really didn't like, because everything that he said he didn't like about Venom was that he was like he thought that he would be just like a mindless brute. That's pretty much Carnage. That's like the version of Venom that he didn't like. I'm surprised no Spider-Man films use Scorpion yet. That would have been a great character.
Maybe the sequel of Homecoming. I think Scorpion would fit better with this. You've seen design for Vulture in this one. I think I can see that working for Scorpion as well.
Yeah.
In Scorpion, think about it, because I'm not familiar with Scorpion in the comic books, but is it because J. Jonah Jameson wants to have Scorpion to defeat Spider-Man?
Well, essentially, Jameson was like responsible for the Scorpion being stuck in the suit he was designed to kill Spider-Man, and now he's like obsessed with getting revenge on J. Jonah Jameson as well as Spider-Man, and essentially he's trapped in this metal shell and he's unable to escape.
See, that's a villain you like to see, because you actually have some sympathy there.
Yeah, and then there's like the character with the backstory's already made for you, and they just haven't capitalized on it yet. There's always potential. There was also plans for maybe a fifth or a sixth film. Unfortunately, Sam Raimi's conflicts with the studio, and I feel like Tobey Maguire was getting kind of tired of all this, that it was scrapped in favour of a reboot in 2012 with The Amazing Spider-Man, which so happened to be Spider-Man's 50th birthday.
Oh wow!
That's nice.
We didn't mention
Also,
that.
it was on the release in the same year as a Jason Bourne reboot.
That's right. You like
so we're bringing that full circle. Can't wait how these things work out.
Yeah, it is strange. It's a coincidence, but yeah.
It's funny little line we live in. The final rundown. I didn't like the tone whiplash, and I didn't like how Harry and Venom were handled. But I did like how Spider-Man was handled, for the most part, apart from the, I liked how Sandman was handled. The supporting cast was great as well, and it has a great action. So I have to do math in my head to figure out what all of this adds up to. That is a 7 out of 10 for me.
Yeah, okay. I didn't like, like you said, tone whiplash. Didn't like that either. But it was too long. I think the narrative wasn't well structured. I think it was way over the place. Too many characters, including villains. Some didn't need to be there at all. Acting at times for me from small characters, like extras mainly, was bad. I think Sam Raimi has a weakness for that.
I don't feel like we've ever got better than the guys on the train from Spider-Man 2. You have to go through me. And me.
Yeah.
And me.
I did like the action. I think, the main characters were great again. And seriously, that's all I can think of really. I mean, it has some good bits in there. I'm going to give this one a 5.5 out of 10. It's not a 5, but it's not a 6 for me. I'm gonna be funny. It's in the middle.
Nobody says 0.5 to me.
So that's our Spider-Man trilogy reviews finished.
Fantastic. I want to talk about The Amazing Spider-Man. That's going to be part of something else I'm doing, and we feel of two minds about The Amazing Spider-Man films. So maybe we'll have to play devil's advocate with that one.
Yes, we do. We will be doing that.
We'll absolutely need to do that.
Also, you can guess who has which opinion on what.
Also, I want to use this as an opportunity. Not only if you like us and you can see the good points of Spider-Man 3, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Links down in the description because always support the official release if you can. We're definitely going to do a plain devil's advocate of this one as well. Just because I'd love to go into a bit more detail and kind of riff the film a bit more than we have in this review, because there is more stuff we could talk about, but definitely not as bad as people say. It's not a 2-hour dance scene. It's a 2-hour movie, which is for the most part handled pretty well, except for problems with the villains and this, of course. And also, want to use this as a quick moment. You got to look at the description below. I have been doing reviews of the Spider-Man video games over on Battle Misfits, so you can check that one out. I probably should have looked that in the other videos as well. Anything else about it?
Nope.
Nobody says nope to me!